Hey, good morning, YouTube. I'm back on here again. Um, people keep saying that YouTube is on easy mode, and the way to become monetized is just to be your authentic self. Well, I can't be nobody else but me because I ain't got nothing special, and I'm not a very technical person. So what you see is what you get. But anyway, I posted a video a couple of days ago about my son is a narcissist. And I wanted to touch base on that a little bit further because even though I have tried to talk, I tried to revisit the conversation that me and my son had, which turned into something else and it blew up and it went left. I tried to talk to him and I wanted him to understand that what I was trying to say got lost in translation. His points, my points, everything got lost in translation because our tempers flared. But the things that my son said to me um, can't be taken back. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a perfect parent. I've made plenty of mistakes. I'm a Sagittarius, so anybody knows that when a Sagittarius gets a Sagittarian, it ain't good. And sometimes our mouths get us into trouble. I'm a very open, honest, blunt person. And I'm one of those type of people that if you don't want the answer, don't ask me the question because I don't know how to lie. And also when I'm hurt, sometimes it comes out wrong. It could be a little bit more gentler, maybe I could kind of get my point across without being so harsh sometimes. And that's like one of my biggest flaws. I can't stand that about myself because it's like, dang, after you say what you say, it's like, why did I say that? Even though I'm blunt, even though I'm raw, even though I'm straightforward and all of that, I have a really, really big heart. And another thing that I have, which I'm so thankful to have, is the ability to forgive. And that's because I have God in me. So my son said, for those of you that don't know my story, I lost my oldest son July 26th of 2024. He was murdered. My younger son returned home to live here July 21st, 2024, after our relationship had been tumultuous and estranged and damaged for quite some time. But he called me and he said, "Mom, I know things ain't all good between us. I know that I have done a lot to you and I know a lot has happened, but I don't have no place to go." Now, if I wanted to be an asshole and treat him like he treated me, he wouldn't be here. But because I do have a heart and because I have the ability to forgive and because I have compassion and empathy for others, I took some time to think about it and I told my son, my younger son, the 21-year-old that's living in my house that gotta go. I told him, I can't give you a yes right now. I took 2 weeks before I told him he could come back. And before that, I had a conversation with his older brother, the one that lost his life. Me and my son, we talked about it and he said, "You know what, Mom? I think that you should let him come back. I mean, at least he's being vulnerable. He's expressing remorse for the things that he said and done to you. So I think you should let him come back. And if he get out of line, call me." Y'all, that was July 21st that I gave him the green light to come home. July 26th, my oldest son was murdered. And now I have this son in my house that said everything that he needed to say to get back here. He played on my sympathy. He pulled on my mother heartstrings and said everything that he needed to say to get back here, only to be just as cold and as heartless and as insensitive as he was before. which is the reason why it took me 2 weeks to give him an answer. I was earlier saying that I'm a Sagittarius and sometimes I say some things and then regret it. And, I apologize and try to right my wrongs. But what my son said to me was, well, what I told him was, I said, you walking around here like you don't care about me. You come home, you barely want to speak. You go in your room, you shut the door, you smoke your weed. You have time to go hang out with your friends, but yet and still, we can't even eat a meal together. We can't watch a movie together. We can't spend no time together. And then to add insult to injury, I was sick. I'm talking about sick. I think I had that new virus, what is it called? Neurovirus last week. So I spent New Year's Eve in my bed with a fever and chills and shaking and sweating and body aches and headaches, a headache that I couldn't get rid of, and wheezing, shortness of breath, all of that. For 3 days, I laid in this bed, and my son, who loves me and who wants to repair and rebuild our relationship, brought his ass in my house and went in his room, closed the door, did not one time knock on the door and say, hey, Mom, are you okay? Do you need anything? Or any of that. Nothing. It was no empathy. It was no compassion. It was no just basic human decency to check on his own mother. So when we sat down, after I felt a little bit better and we sat down at the table, I was bringing up all these issues that has happened and just telling him how I feel. And also the fact that he treated his brother like he treated his older brother like he was here and he was here. Because my oldest son was of an entrepreneurial mindset, and he was trying to make it work in real estate and things like that. And nothing was happening for him. He wasn't getting no traction, and he just was out here. Instead of wanting to get a job, he was trying to make his dreams come true. And unfortunately, they didn't. So my younger son, he feels that because he has a job, because he has a car, that he was better than him. So he treated his brother like crap. He treated me like crap. So anyway, after, being here, going through the sickness and realizing that this boy then came back into my house only to repeat the same negative behavior, bringing a darkness in my house, negative energy in my house, I addressed it at the table. And I'm like, your room is trifling. And I'm talking about trifling, y'all. I posted a video about that. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But anyway, not keeping his room clean, disrespecting my home, smoking weed in his room. I said, hey, if you're going to smoke outside. I don't care what you do, but not in my house. And also I have a daughter she's about to be 18, but at the time of him moving in July 21st of 2024, my daughter's still a minor. So you're keeping your weed and your paraphernalia in my house, smoking it in my house, not locking it, making sure it was put up responsibly. And if curiosity killed the cat with her, then I would have to be dealing with that. So I sat at the table and I'm addressing these issues with him about how he makes me feel, how he did not show any type of care and concern over me being sick, how the room is, how he acts like he doesn't want to be bothered with us and he just detaches himself. But yet and still, his whole thing was he wanted to repair and rebuild and restore our relationship, and got over here and did none of that. So we sat at the table. I'm talking to him about it. And yeah, I was biting his head off a little bit, but at this point I wasn't cussing or disrespecting him or anything. But I said, I must have been a terrible mother. Just saying it, y'all. I wasn't. But I said this. I said, I must have been a terrible mother, for you to turn out like this. Because what they got when they were children were hugs every day. They were told that they were loved every day. I bust my ass. I went to work. They had dinner. Nothing was ever cut off. They don't know about being set out. Nothing. And they lived in the suburbs. But I said, I must have been a terrible mother for you to grow up and to have this, it's like when he's one of those ones, when you say something to him, he's a wounded animal. And then when you come back to apologize, he doesn't want to believe you and he wants to hold on to grudges. So I said, I must have been a terrible mother for you to turn out like this. And the boy looks me straight in my face. My son looks me straight in my face and says, yeah, you were a terrible mom. That's why Monte turned out the way he turned out, talking about my son being murdered. Who says that? So unfortunately, because he's so cruel and he's said and done so many things to me, I wasn't really shocked. But the more I thought about it and the more I internalized it, it hurt. So I came back to him day before yesterday in the morning, and I tried to talk to him. I went in his room, because at that point when he told me that, and I said, and on that note, you need to get your shit and you need to get out of my house. I'm not about to have nobody in my house, rubbing a death, something so hurtful in my face and taking joy in my pain. So I told him he need to get his shit and get out my house. He told me he's not going anywhere. He knows his rights. And y'all, he do pay $400 a month. But guess what? That $400 ain't worth it. I'm straight. I'm good. I don't want it. To say something like that to me, to have no remorse about it, and to be proud of what you said because you feel like you have a point, and it was all in the name of me addressing something that you did to me. And instead of him acknowledging it and saying, yeah, you're right, Mom, I'm sorry, I could have checked on you. I've been in my own world, I'm going through what I'm going through, and I'm sorry that I haven't been there for you. Instead of him acknowledging that, taking responsibility for the issues that I was trying to address, he deflects and then rubs in my face his brother's death. Tells me I'm a horrible mother, tells me that everything he got it on his own. But he's living in my home. I'm the same parent that he called when he had nowhere to go, but everything that he's gotten on his own. So he gave himself life. He cooked for himself. He washed himself. He washed his clothes. He bought his own Christmas gifts. His birthdays was celebrated all by himself. All kinds of stuff. My son minimized every positive thing I've ever done for him, to him, in his life, because he didn't want to take accountability for how he made me feel, because he doesn't know how to apologize. This is a narcissist. And he got to go. The fact that when I turn my key, there's an uneasiness in my stomach. I don't feel comfortable in my own home. This boy is 21 years old and has no problem saying, yeah, you are a terrible mother. That's why Monte ended up where he ended up. You haven't gave me anything. I would be much further in life if you did better as a mother, if you picked a better man. Let me just say this. Parents don't always get it right. And I also can't be responsible for what another goddamn adult does. I get blamed for everything. The things that I've done, the things that I've tried, the good times that we had don't mean nothing to him. So I've lost one son, and now I've lost another one, and he needs some help. I'm going to get myself grief counseling. I'm going to put myself through my own counseling and also get some for my daughter. But my son needs help. And it's like I'm trying to show compassion in spite of being angry, in spite of being hurt, in spite of basically him spitting in my face, metaphorically. Like I ain't nothing, like I've never done anything. He don't want to be bothered with me. You can watch your mother be sick, not check on her, not offer her a damn cup of water. And when I address it and say, hey, what you did and how you treated me when I was sick hurt me, then I become the villain and he becomes the victim. This is a narcissist. So to the parents out there that have broken relationships with their children, and they kids come back to them and they have to second guess about if they want that child to come back into their home, take it from me. Leave their asses on the other side of the door. YouTube on easy mode, right? Because YouTube wants us to be our true and authentic selves. Well, let me just say this. I'm using YouTube as a way to express my pain. I know that I'm not the only parent out here that has been hurt by a child. And don't get me wrong, we are not perfect parents. But if you've met all your child's basic needs and necessities, and you've done the best that you could, and that child was told that they were loved, you hugged them, you took them to church. They know about holiday dinners. They know about going to Cedar Point. They know about being surprised for their birthday. You made them feel special. You spent time with them. You showed up to the school. You washed their clothes. You cooked. You did what you had to do. The lights stayed on. If you did all of that and your child grows up and treats you the way that my son is treating me, give him to God. Because that's where he's at. Y'all, please like, comment, subscribe. I know I can't be the only one out here that's going through this. And if y'all got any advice, I'm listening. But my advice to you is that if you have to second guess your decision about letting somebody move in your house, whether that's your child or friend, family, or somebody with a sob story, and you have to second guess it because of the pain that you guys have that has not even been resolved yet, but you find yourself being compassionate and empathetic towards it because you don't want to see them out there doing bad, follow your first mind. Follow your first mind and leave them on the other side of the door. And that goes for your kids too. I regret allowing my son to come back home because he is the same heartless, cold, insensitive young man that he was so many years ago. And this all started when he was about 15, 16. Things took a turn for the worse. Prior to that, you couldn't have told me that our relationship would be the way it is today. But we are three different people. We are who we were, we are who we are now, and we are who we are. We're who we're going to be. We're three different versions. So the person that I raised is not who he is today. And I pray that God turns him around. I pray that God touches his heart, his mind, his spirit, because his days are numbered. I'm mom. I sacrificed, and he's in my home disrespecting me. What does the Bible say? Honor thy father and thy mother, right? For that your days will be long. May not be quoting it right, but y'all get what I'm saying. My son has disrespected me on levels that I ain't shared yet. Stay tuned, because I have to put it into words and put it into perspective. Stay tuned. But I'm literally living with a narcissist. When you address something to them and then they flip it around on you and you become the issue and they fail to take accountability, you're dealing with a narcissist. And that's what I've been dealing with. And I can't wait for it to be over. I will feel so much lighter when he's gone from my home. And that's so sad to say about your own child. But it's reality, it's life. So anyway, y'all stay humble and be blessed. I'm just sharing my pain. YouTube on easy mode. Let's just see.